Gandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Vedanta Swami Namah Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vashakare Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare Krishna. So, welcome everyone for today morning discussion from ISOPANISHAD text number 1. Just give me a quick second. Just making sure our system is working. Hare Krishna. All right. Where is our Zoom? All right. So thank you all for joining in, and we would be starting from text number 1 or mantra 1. We met last week. We had one discussion, I believe, probably on Thursday or Saturday, either of the day, and we have discussed the invocation. We spoke about what is invocation, why invocation is there, the purpose of it, and why there's a particular invocation in ISOPANISHAD like that. And then we read through the invocation and we discussed this particular verse which is given for invocation. Let's begin with text number 1. In total, in ISOPANISHAD, there are 18 mantras. 18 mantras, right? 17, 18 mantras. So let's begin with it, and then I'll tell you how these mantras are kind of can be grouped in a particular subject matter. So mantra number 1. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatayam jagat taktena bunjita magata kasya swedhana. Once together. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatayam jagatena taktena bunjita magata kasya swedhana. What word meaning? Isha, by the Lord. Vasyam, controls. Idam, this. Sarvam, all. What? Yet, whatever. Kim, it is. Cha, and. Jagatyam, within the universe. Agat, all that is animate and inanimate. Tena, by him. Yaktena, set apart quota. Bunjitaha, must you accept. Ma, do not. Gradaha, make into use. Kasya swet, whom does it belong? Dhanam, things necessary. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself and which are set aside as his quota. And one must not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Fantastic verse. Isha means controller. Isha Vasyam. Vashmyana. Vashyam. So Isha Vasyam, in other words, everything is controlled by Isha. What is everything controlled? Idam Sarvam. This world. Sarvam means everything, not only world. Animate or inanimate. Idam Sarvam. Yat kincha jagatyam jagat. Whatever you see that exists in this world, everything is controlled by Isha. Tena tyaktena bunjita. Therefore, tyaktena. Tyaktena means a quota has been assigned for every individual. Bunjita. And should enjoy only that much quota, which means what is authorized. Magradha, one should not. Kasya Suddhanam, should long for, aspire for others' possessions or property. In other words, accept what is authorized for oneself and give up greed. Knowing the fact that everything is under the control of the Lord and everything belongs to the Lord. We are just a caretaker. So we have been authorized. Just like in a company, everything is authorized, everything is controlled by the owner. And he assigns a quota of resources to be given. To give an example down the line in hierarchy, just like manager. Manager allocates resources. What kind of office? Does the company provide you a smartphone? Does the company give you a loan to buy a car? Or does the company pay a rent for your accommodation? And we know that at different positions, all these resources are available at different capacity. And what can you do at the end of the day? You accept what is authorized, what is approved for your position. Do not long, do not hanker for other. Like that, it has been described in relationship of our existence in this creation. Let's take a look at purpose. So Prabhupada begins with talking about how not having complete knowledge about the absolute truth is what leads to problems in life. Purpose. The first paragraph talks about imperfect knowledge arising from imperfect senses. Anyone would like to read the first paragraph from the audience? Okay, Madan Sundar, you have to go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Purpose. Vedic knowledge.
Wait a second. Speaker one muted. Yes. Go ahead, Madan.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
Yes.
Vedic knowledge is infallible because it comes down to the perfect disciplic succession of spiritual masters, beginning with the Lord himself.
Continue. There was one devotee was unmuted. I'm muted. Go ahead.
Since he spoke the first word of Vedic knowledge, the source of this knowledge is transcendental. The words spoken by the Lord are called Apurva, which indicates that they are not delivered by any mundane person. A living being who lives in the mundane world has four defects. He is certain to commit mistakes, he is subject to illusion, he has a propensity to cheat others, and his senses are imperfect. No one with these four imperfections can deliver perfect knowledge. The Vedas are not produced by such an imperfect creature. Vedic knowledge was originally imparted by the Lord into the heart of Brahma, the first created living being, and Brahma, in his turn, disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples who have handed it down through history.
Hare Krishna. So after Asia, Vedic knowledge is not a man-made. Every living entity in this world is has four defects: tendency to make mistakes, imperfect senses, changing propensity, and tendency to be illusion. Like that, Prabhupada will explain the first paragraph. We'll read a few paragraphs and then I'm going to raise some questions and have a discussion. So some turning happens. So this is how Prabhupada begins. All right. Now in this next paragraph, Prabhupada talks about how Ishwar is actually a true concept. Mother Medhavni, go ahead. हरे कृष्णा कृपा करके अनम्यूट करने का थोड़ा संघर्ष करें.
Sorry, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavad Pranams. Since the Lord is since the Lord is Purnam, all perfect, there is no possibility of his being subjected to the laws of material nature, which he controls. However, both the living entities and inanimate objects are controlled by the laws of nature and ultimately by the Lord's potency. This ISOPANISHAD is part of the Yajur Veda, and consequently, it contains information concerning the proprietorship of all things existing within the universe. Can I continue, Prabhu?
We'll pause here. So how Ishwar is a true concept has been explained by Srila Prabhupada here. There is no chance of us being subjected to the laws of material nature. So Jiva and Ishwar has been talked about. Now in the next, the same theme continues in the next paragraph, where Prabhupada will talk about Ishavasya principle, where Prabhupada will quote Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter verse number 4 and 5, talking about how everything belongs to Krishna. The para and apara Shakti are of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Madan Radhika, go ahead. Read the next paragraph.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The Lord's proprietorship over everything within the universe is confirmed in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 7.4 and 5, where para and apara prakriti are discussed. The elements of nature, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, all belong to the Lord's inferior material energy, apara prakriti. Whereas the living being, the organic energy, is his superior energy, para prakriti. Both of these prakritis or energies are emanations from the Lord, and ultimately he is the control of everything that exists. There is nothing in the universe that does not belong either to the para or apara prakriti. Therefore, everything is the property of the Supreme Being.
Continue the next paragraph. Same thing.
Because the Supreme Being, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the complete person, he has complete and perfect intelligence to adjust everything by means of his different potencies. The Supreme Being is often compared to a fire, and everything organic and inorganic is compared to the heat and light of that fire. Just as fire distributes energy in the form of heat and light, the Lord displays his energy in different ways. He thus remains the ultimate controller, sustainer, and dictator of everything. He is the possessor of all potencies, the knower of everything, and the benefactor of everyone. He is full of inconceivable opulence, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation.
So Srila Prabhupada is kind of building the subject matter around Ishwar, how there is an Ishwar, the Supreme Personality Godhead. And now Prabhupada is talking about how Ishwar is complete in himself. Next, Prabhupada will give an example and analogy to explain that. Varun Prabhu, we will take the next two paragraphs. The analogy continues there.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is a proprietor of anything. One should accept only those things that are set aside by the Lord as his quota.
So, just a quick pause here. A little food for thought. I'm going to come up onto this discussion and ask all of you also. What does it mean by a quota set aside for oneself? And what do we know? What is our quota? We're going to have a discussion. I'm going to open the forum for it in a short time. Continue, please.
The cow, for instance, gives milk, but she does not drink that milk. She eats grass and straw, and her milk is designated as food for human beings. Such is the arrangement of the Lord. Thus, we should be satisfied with those things he has kindly set aside for us, and we should always consider to whom those things we possess actually belong. Take, for example, our dwelling, which is made of earth, wood, stone, iron, cement, and so many other material things. If we think in terms of these ISOPANISHAD, we must know that we cannot produce any of these building materials ourselves. We can simply bring them together and transform them into different shapes by our labor. A laborer cannot claim to be a proprietor of a thing just because he has worked hard to manufacture it.
Hare Krishna. All very important concepts that we discussed here. And I believe most of you have read Bhagavad Gita. So here, I'm going to open it for a little discussion. So, two things, if you pay attention to the verses talking about. First, the verse is saying there is an Ishwar. He's in control of everything. Next, he's saying, so Ishwar and being control of everything. First concept. Second concept is a quota has been designated for you. Be satisfied with that. Do not hanker, become greedy for quota which belongs to someone else. So my question to you is, okay, Ishwara is there. We all are aware of it. Prabhupada mentioned a few points about it. We all know of that. So I'm not going to have a discussion on the concept of Ishwar, existence and non-existence. My question here is, what do you understand by quota? What is my quota? And what does it mean when it is said, be satisfied with your own quota? What does it indicate? What is it, Hare Krishna. So sound is all okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
More than normal.
2-3 people are audio is not unmuted.
Okay. So I would mute everyone, and when you have to speak, then you can use hand. Okay. So again, sorry, there is some yoga asanas going on. They're creating some strange laughter sound here. I'm getting distracted. So what was I asking? Quota. What is my quota? First question. Second thing is, what is my quota? How do I understand what is my quota? And second thing, why it is said, be just content with your quota. Don't hanker, look for others' quota. How do you explain that? So let's go with question number 1. Somebody would like to answer, raise your hand, and then we can see. Okay, Mother Roshni, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, does it mean roti, kapda, makan? And does it mean that the bare necessities that should be?
Yeah, that's my question to you. What do you say? You think your quota is roti, kapda, makan? Then question comes, how many roti? How many kapda? And 2 BHK, 3 BHK, 4 BHK. Because you give a very abstract answer. It's just like, bhai methunam is my quota. But how much ahar, how much nidra, how much protection, and how much methuna, like that. So high level way is okay, but what do you mean by quota? How do you understand? Okay, good attempt. Varun Prabhu, you want to say something? Go ahead. We have some hands here. Okay, coming to you after Varun Prabhu. Yes, Varun Prabhu, go ahead.
So again, I think it's quite subjective, but I think if we think like this, that whatever I need for my sustenance and well-being, and
it becomes subjective.
Yeah, it does not include my greed, basically. As soon as
every person will acknowledge that he's greedy. When you say I, it's like, yes, we have something. Kedar Prabhu, go ahead. Oh, sorry, Parag Prabhu. Sorry, Parag Prabhu. Yeah, Parag Prabhu, go ahead.
So, according to me, the quota is suggested that whatever is coming to in your life is according to karma.
Whatever is coming to your life according to karma, so sit back at home. If you get a job, good enough. If you get a food, good enough. Sit back, become a python.
But you have to struggle for that, and whatever it comes according to karma.
Now, when you struggle for it, then you also struggle for your greed.
It can be.
Yes, hey, we should have for the discussion second mic, Abhishek. Online audience will not be able to hear. Yes, Prashant.
Quota is something which always be sanctioned by authority.
Quota is something which has to be always sanctioned by authority. Very good point. The first point is quota is which is authorized, sanctioned. Therefore, you see in an example, Prabhupada gives an example of cow producing milk. And that is a sanctioned food for human being. The question comes, who authorizes? So therefore, Prabhupada says a human being cannot figure out what is right, wrong, because there are 4 defects. So who authorizes? Vedic scriptures, Apurushaya. Therefore, Prabhupada quote an example of, started with Vedic scriptures. So who is an authority? Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Ultimately, Shastra. Guru and Sadhu also has to align with Shastra. So at least high level is clear. So we cannot take non-veg because Shastra doesn't say so. So what we are supposed to eat, all that. Okay. Now in that also there is a lot of scope of freedom. The greed can really manifest, overeating and things like that. Now how do we understand what is our quota further, apart from being sanctioned? Yes, question 2.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
So I think if anything that we without over endeavoring much, if we acquire or we get, that will be part of the quota.
Okay. All right. See, good attempts. You have to see this when asking a question overall system designed by Krishna. And Prabhupada gives an example also. One of the principles of Bhagavad Gita is Karmana Vadikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachan. And for an example, what I mean by that, Prabhupada also says, let's say you hire a laborer and they construct a house. They cannot claim because it is the fruit of my labor, it is my quota. You're getting the point? Because it is the fruit of my labor, it is for me. And all of you are kind of indicating towards that only. Because I have worked it, so it is my quota. Because I did not work so much, so it is my quota. And if in case I over endeavored, then I'll take 2 BHK, 1 BHK I'll give you. You're getting it? There's a big issue here. That's not the point. So therefore, a system of society, division of society has been made. An occupation has been made. We all do something, and everything what we do, every professional life you see, in some way we are serving the society. So we cannot not really claim on whatever we do, it belongs to us. And therefore comes in picture Varnashamaha. Brahmanas are supposed to do something, Kshatriyas are supposed to do something, Vaishyas and Shudra, they're all supposed to do. In other words, this verse is saying, understand who you are, understand your role and position in the society, and contribute accordingly. And when you make a contribution, just like when a Brahmana shares knowledge, then he's provided for his maintenance. Yes or no? Then he gets Bhiksha. So do your work understanding what's your nature. So having a discussion on quota really doesn't make sense unless you know what you're supposed to do. Otherwise, what is your quota? Unless you don't know what you're supposed to do, then what is your quota? So understand who you are and then act accordingly, and then you'll be provided. And then what it comes, then accept it gracefully. Don't long for or don't hanker for. Now, what happens is why they said, be satisfied with what you have. First, this culture, a cultural practice, what has been described here, would remove envy from the environment. Everyone is envious of others. Why? Because somebody has got more than I. How can he? But you did something, you have been given a certain result, be happy with it. That is your quota. You cannot demand more for it. And as some of you said about karma, so this is where ISOPANISHAD begins with. This is where the, you can say, a primary teaching of Vedic knowledge. Learn to be content. Learn to be satisfied with what you have. What you have received is based on your past karma. And karma do not act independently. Karmas act under the purview of the Supreme Personality Godhead. Otherwise, very interesting was, think about it. Why these two concepts have to be clubbed together? Just think about it. Make a wild thing. Why these two concepts? They're two different concepts. Isha is a controller. And the second concept, you have a quota, be happy with your quota. You cannot be happy with your quota if you don't know that quota has been authorized to you by Isha. So to establish was that Isha is a controller, has to be there. Imagine if ISOPANISHAD begins with, there could have been 2 other lines. The same concept could have been explained in 4 lines. And imagine this ISOPANISHAD begins with saying that, so all of you, you do your hard work, fantastic. But at the end of the day, you will receive based on your karma or your quota and learn to be happy. The question can be raised. Who decides quota? Who decides quota? So that is what has been established. In other words, there's a beautiful verse comes in, let me share this. Aapka kehte hain, Srimad Bhagavatam, one of my favorite verses, 5th canto, 18th chapter, verse number 9, spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. Please repeat after me if in case you are able to. Swasyastu Vishwasya Kalaha Prasidatam. Both complicated. Those who have the verse on the screen, they can see. Dhyayantu Bhutani Shivam Mithodhiya Manashabhadram Vajatadato Saje Aveshatano Materapi Ahitaki. What is Prahlad Maharaj saying? Swastyastu Vishwasya, let there be auspiciousness. Kalaha Prasitatam. Kala means kala. Sankat paida karne wale. Kala means envious. Prasidatam, let them be pacified. Translation, May there be good fortune throughout the universe. May all envious person be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing Bhakti Yoga, for by accepting devotion service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Shri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thoughts of Him. Prahlad Maharaj from Fifth Canto. So that's the idea here, discussion on it. Give an example. First thing is this: accept gracefully what you receive. Do not complain about it. First thing. Second, do not criticize others. For example, it's possible that let's take an example of kitchen. You know, somebody goes into the kitchen and he cooks, and in half an hour, one person makes 20 chapatis. And he's living with, or let's say husband, wife. In fact, these days both husband, wife can cook. Imagine husband goes in the kitchen. Well, I should say wife goes into the kitchen. Well, husband goes. Both of them don't know cooking these days, so I can say anything now. Doesn't matter. Let's say husband goes into the kitchen, and his capacity, speed of making chapati is 20 chapatis, half an hour. And wife goes into the kitchen, and her speed is she makes 5 chapatis in half an hour. Hypothetically, could be practical also. I don't know. Imagine that speed. The husband comes out and he eats only 3 chapatis. He could 20 chapatis. Wife comes out and she takes 15 chapatis, although she cooked 5. So the point is, the husband should not say, "Kya re? Mehnat main karta hu, khati tu hai." You getting the point? So, I mean, you might have worked for half an hour, prepare more result, or contribute to the result. But if your capacity is to eat only 3 chapati, be happy with it. How much you can handle has been allowed for you. So don't look and tell others, you know, this is right, wrong. So don't criticize, don't compare, and do not complain. Swastyastu vishwasya khalaha prasidata. Like that. And be detached from the results, because results do not belong to you. This is how the society has been designed. Now, Prabhupada will take this discussion forward and will talk about capitalism and communism for that reason, because it's all related to results. All right, Nitai Prantu, your hand is up. Please read for the next paragraph. There is always this great quarrel. 1 minute. Yeah. Go ahead.
Prabhu, actually, I have a question. Yeah. So this is regarding the word quota that has been used. So generally, the quota means where I can claim my proprietorship. Yeah, that is something which is kind of allocated to me, even though it has been decided by someone, but I can claim my proprietorship on that.
Yeah, it's a legal thing you're talking about it. What you can claim or what is your right, it depends on, see, for example, for you to claim that it belongs to me, there has to be some legal structure to define that, isn't it? What I mean by legal structure, just like it is said, the son has a share, has a right on his father's property. That is a quota assigned. And now you can claim for it, which means there's a legal structure which binds us into this, isn't it? If there is no legal structure which tells this, that you have a share on your father's property or claim on father's property, how can you say this is my quota? You getting it? Similarly, this whole social structure has been designed by the Lord in the form of varnashrama. So therefore I said, unless we know who we are, what's my role, to really ask for what is my quota becomes very confusing. And then to say it is greed or not, it becomes again very difficult. So let's say a Brahmana. Brahmana's role are very clearly defined. And what is his quota? His quota is Bhiksham Dehi. Whatever he gets in charity, charity is never asked. You know, if he says, if the student says, Gurudev, aap boli aapko kya chahiye? That's a different thing. You know, Gurudev is not going to go and tell. You know, मुझे imagine तुम्हारे घर पे कोई भिक्षा मांगने आया, बोलता है मुझे 4 आलू के पराठे चाहिए. अब बोलेगा भाई 4 सूखी रोटी है, नहीं मुझे आलू के पराठे चाहिए. It doesn't work like that, भिक्षा. Now Kshatriya can ask because Kshatriya collect taxes. So for that 25% tax collection has been designed in the scriptures. That is the quota Kshatriya has a collect. Similarly, Vaishya, it is sanctioned and it is allowed. Vaishya can speak a lie. Because if Vaishya doesn't speak a lie, he cannot make a profit. So this whole system has been designed and defined. And you are involved. Now, example, if a Vaishya has purchased a product for 5 rupees and sells for 10 rupees, nobody can, put him behind the prison bar. Does it ever happen? कि तूने झूठ बोला, वैश्य cannot be, because वैश्य cannot function without every वैश्य, every businessman, प्रभु जी आपको दे रहा हूँ, मैं लॉस में जा रहा हूँ. I am going under loss, you don't know. It's always, whenever they say loss, which means they're making at least double profit. So they are allowed for it. They're not cannot be caught for that. And similarly, Shudras have defined rules. Now, Shudra is traditionally, Shudra was not given wealth, so he cannot demand wealth. Shudra is something who is provided for his living. He's provided accommodation, he's provided food, sustenance, everything is provided. So he cannot come and say, "Are Raja ji, आप भी तो जाके राज्यसभा में बैठते हैं 2 घंटे के लिए और मैं यहाँ 6 घंटे के लिए काम करता हूँ. You collect taxes, you build your treasury, and I only get food to eat and house to live. I want my quota." So how do you define quota? So quota has to be also defined. So traditionally it has been defined as through the Varnashrama system. Now for that we have legal structure in the society. And therefore Prabhupada is going to start discussion about the society. Now, modern days, we have society divided as capitalistic society. It has its own legal structure, which defines what's your quota or not quota. Then you have communistic society, which has its own legal structure that defines what is your quota or not quota. That's where Prabhupada takes the discussion. Now, what's for devotees? Now, if you ask for a devotee, of course, Varnashrama is not in action. One part of Varnashrama is there, but it's not fully in action. So, do your work sincerely. And whatever comes, accept that. Be smart enough to balance out your time and energy for practicing spiritual life also. Don't become too passionate to really make a lot of professional progress, because any progress in this world comes with a lot of reactions. Give priority to your spiritual life. Keeping that as a priority, now try to organize your rest of your life. And do I need this promotion? If I take this promotion, how much is going to affect my spiritual life? So like that, devotee goes into the mindset of making decisions about his life.
Under the guidance of some spiritual authority.
Yes, you have to have a guidance. It cannot be, because things are not predefined now, isn't it? Yeah. Earlier there was a system, things were predefined. Now things are not predefined. So now you have to take a guidance in terms of how can I balance out my family responsibility and professional responsibility with the spiritual goals and responsibility, so that the spiritual life is not compromised, because only one thing remains, that is spiritual life and spiritual credit. So we don't want to compromise that. So for that, we need a guidance. But the question is, how many people are willing to take guidance? So if we're not willing to take guidance as subject matter, there's somewhere, somehow, our faith is still needs some support. How much should I work? How much should I endeavor? Life should be governed by some kind of right guidance. Earlier, it wasn't so much needed. Kshatriya's son is born, Kshatriya, he's going to become Kshatriya. He has his job responsibility. Nobody was traveling from one town to another town. Everyone lived locally. Just like, I guess, this Modi's slogan, Make in Bharat, Make in India, right? Which means local. Everything was local before. Schools were local, colleges were local, everything was local. So the system worked very smoothly. Think about it. I'm extending the idea. Have we ever come across any historical incident where the kings from Bharat attacked the kings of different parts of the world? This has been very much ingrained in our system and in our blood. Now, this became a problem later on, where people thought, okay, I'm a ruler for this province, let it be. I'm the ruler. Rather than thinking for the larger good, despite being attacked 1,000 years ago by Khilji, not before Khilji, who had come before Khilji? Muhammad Ghori had come. Muhammad Ghori had come, and he took advantage of seeing that, whole nations were divided into literally small provinces and kingdoms. And yet the kings did not came together and supported each other, because of which they lost. And that's how this whole invasion happened. But even if you see today, I would say it is people of this land who are somehow, theek hai, jo mil gaya kafi hai. Have you seen that? It is still, look at your parents. Okay, jo ho gaya, so ho gaya. Theek hai. This is because of this. Because there was a system where people lived locally and they were happy with whatever came. And therefore, we are blamed for being lazy. If you go,
Laid back mentality.
yeah, they say we are lazy, we don't work hard, we are not passionate. And if you look at historically, and that's where we lost, because we didn't caught up with industrialization. We were not interested into it. We had a farmland, grow your crops, there were cows, there were fellows, everything was going smooth because it was God-conscious society. And see, all this capitalism, communism started from a atheistic background. We'll discuss about all that history as we move forward in ISOPANISHAD. Many times people ask question, oh, how did we lost and all that? It's just because we had a system where people are content with what they had. Otherwise, why there is not even a single incident that any Indian king charged over Europe and he ruled over France or Britain? Do you find any reference? Not even China for that reason. You know, in Kaliga, Chinese culture and our Bharat culture had been distinctive. Not even they've charged over China ever like this. Not even a single incident. Fine. So, chalo, padho. There is always a great part. Capitalism, communism. Now you'll understand why Prabhupada is speaking about this.
Yeah. So from where Prabhu, take for example?
Next paragraph.
No, it's take for or after that. In modern society, there is always a.
Yes, maybe. Yes. Yeah, it's a little different for me. Go ahead.
Yeah. In modern society, there is always a great quarrel between the laborers and the capitalist. The quarrel has taken an international shape, and the world is in danger. Men face one another in enmity and snarl just like cats and dogs. Shri Upanishad cannot give advice to the cats and dogs, but it can deliver the message of Godhead to men through a bona fide acharya, holy teachers. The human race should take the Vedic wisdom of Shri Upanishad and not quarrel over material possessions. One should be satisfied with whatever privileges are given to him by the mercy of the Lord. There can be no peace if the communist or the capitalist or any other party claims proprietorship over the resources of nature, which are entirely the property of the Lord. The capitalist can
give up proprietorship mentality. That's the point. I believe sound should be a little better now. Hopefully, yeah. Okay, it was the wrong setting. So give up proprietorship mentality is the point. You continue.
The capitalist cannot curb the communist simply by political maneuvering, nor can the communist defeat the capitalist simply by fighting for stolen bread. If they do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the property they claim to be their own is stolen. Consequently,
so if you look at the history about it, I mean, there's no point talking about our history in this regard because we had a Varnashram system. Let's take a look back in Europe, what had happened. So at one point of time, everything was dictated and governed by a pope. You can call it as a Brahmanas class governing. And you see this, what is that movie, beautiful movie? Saint Francis, I believe from Italy. So somewhere around 15th century, 15th century. So you see that in that, there's a beautiful movie about the Saint Francis of Assisi. So you see that the decision making was centered around Pope, or the representatives of the Pope. Later on down the line, people saw, these rascals, they enjoy their life. And we Kshatriyas are working. And they sit back, they are into womanizing, they are into meat eating, alcohol, they do everything. And they come out on the balcony, topi laga ke, dusro ko topi laga ke chale jaate hain. These are the Pope and all that these fellows do. So the Kshatriyas revolted against it. So they took the power in their hand. I'm forgetting the terminology, what was called for them. Let's say you can call it aristocracy or autocracy. You can call it autocracy. Monarchy came into picture. When monarchy came into picture, then they began to exploit everyone else. They began to extract a lot of taxes from those who were businessmen. And then it led to another revolution. This whole history, I'll tell you, I have noted down. It's called civil disobedience movement, different movements, and that's the time when industrial revolution picked up in around 16th, 17th century. Then capitalism, which means the Vaishyas took over the power. Capitalism means Vaishyas. They took over the power. They said, why you Kshatriyas, we should listen to you, this king and all that, this is nonsense. You're not doing anything. They threw over. And then capitalists started ruling. When capitalists, Vaishya started ruling, who they gonna exploit? See, everyone exploits somebody down them. So Kshatriyas exploited, monarchy exploited business class. Now when business class got into the power, business class exploited Shudras. And that led to rise of communism. So from where communism started with? Is all communism is of the Shudras, by the Shudras, for the Shudras. There's no God into the picture, there's no society in the picture. And where does democracy comes in the picture? Prabhupada called democracy. The asses are chosen by the asses. So like that, the whole structure of it is. So in India, until recent, let's say 1947, there were princely states. Monarchy was there. Monarchy got abolished all over, but had not got abolished here, which means the kings were able to take care of the people. Kings were providing for their people. That didn't happen over here. But it got abolished over there, and then we got under the British rule and things like that. Then later on, all this thing came into. Otherwise, it wasn't a culture over here. So there is a French Revolution that happened that allowed capitalists to get into the power. Then there was a civil disobedience movement. Then there was this First World War in Russia, not Russia, in Europe. And post that First World War, the king in Russia had sent his army to fight, and he was out on vacation for a month in one of his farm palaces. And his army didn't have food to eat. And Russia lost so many soldiers, so many men, not because of being defeated in the battle, just because of shortage of the food supplies. And that's the time Stalin, Lenin, they all, I believe Stalin came first or Lenin came first, whoever came. Stalin probably, this is Karl Marx, all that thing came into picture. And they came up with this whole idea of communistic, and that monarchy was overthrew in USSR, and the communism started like that. So that's the whole thing is all about atheism, no God consciousness. So therefore, if you talk about quota, my quota, without understanding there is Ishwar in control, it leads to what has led to today. Complete chaos, complete crisis. But when you talk about my quota, but in relation to that Ishwar is assigning my quota, then there is no issue about it. That's the subject matter here. So continue. Capitalists cannot cut down the communists. Nitai Prabhu, please read. Hare Krishna. He is frozen. Mother Rashni, go ahead, if you can read. You're not audible at all, Mother Rashni. Hare Krishna. Still not audible. Okay, till the time you fix your Mother Indu Radhika, go ahead. अरे सब किसी का साउंड नहीं आ रहा, क्या हुआ? Hare Krishna. Mother, speak up. Why sound is not coming? Not audible. You are also not audible. ठीक है, Mother again. You try. I don't know what's happening. You try. Oh yeah, you are audible. Okay. I got doubtful. I thought my speaker is bad. Okay, go ahead. Read now.
Yes. The capitalists cannot curb the communists simply by political maneuvering, nor can the communists defeat the capitalists simply by fighting for stolen bread.
So any political movement, in essence, cannot solve the problem. That is what Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur had said to Srila Prabhupada. This movement is so urgent, it cannot wait for any change in the politics of this country. Prabhupada said, as a Pichanandi, well, how can we do something good about our culture and heritage when we are ruled by the British? Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur Prabhupada said, no, it cannot wait. So it cannot depend on somebody else. Please continue.
If they do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the property they claim to be their own is stolen. Consequently, they will be liable to punishment by the laws of nature.
Laws of nature. Now, if you see, where in any country you can say is peacefully ruling and things are going smooth? Anywhere. Think about it. I don't go too much discussion on it. Punishment will come. The laws of nature would act. And the laws of nature can act in various ways, can corrupt your minds and inspire you so much that you start killing your own people. That's what happening in America. Every day there's a shooting incident. I was talking to one brahmachari yesterday. I was telling him, I said, I lived almost close to 5.5 years to 6 years in America. I saw many gang fights. I never saw so many fights in my life in India as I saw in around 5.5 years. On my porch of my house, there used to be fist fighting between the college youths, not one-on-one youth. On one evening on my porch, on my house, there were dozens of girls pulling each other hairs and punching each other. Drunk, gone crazy, like that. So gang fight used to happen quite. The groups would get divided and they are high on drugs and they'll fight each other. But the point here is, never ever there was a single shooting incident. Now look, every day there's a shooting incident. People are dying. Okay, so therefore they should be liable to punishment by the laws of nature. Go ahead.
Nuclear bombs are in the hands of both communists and capitalists, and if both do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord, it is certain that these bombs will ultimately ruin both parties. Thus, in order to save themselves and bring peace to the world, both parties must follow the instructions of Sri ISOPANISHAD. Human beings are not meant to quarrel like cats and dogs. They must be intelligent enough to realize the importance and aim of human life. The Vedic literature is meant for humanity and not for cats and dogs. Cats and dogs can kill other animals for food without incurring sin, but if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste buds, he is responsible for breaking the laws of nature. Consequently, he must be punished.
Hare Krishna. So we'll pause here. I will conclude with a few points. Similarly, in our life, let's talk about practicing devotees. We should not get too much troubled by or enamored by post position, or get troubled by, for example, different devotees have different capacities. Some devotees can speak nicely, some devotees can sing nicely, some devotee can play musical instrument nicely. Everyone, based on their past karmic activities, have been awarded with certain skill set. One is karmic. Now, what to speak of somebody who has practiced devotional life in the past life? Somebody had performed bhakti in the past life, and when he resumes his bhakti from this lifetime, in his bhakti profile, if you see, that person will be way ahead of you in the spiritual life. You cannot have the crab mentality of keep pulling him down, saying that, अरे हमारे संग भक्ति में आया 2020 के मार्च कोविड महीने में, जब कोविड शुरू हमारी भक्ति शुरू हुई, पर कितना समय हो गया है ये चल रहा है 2020, 21, 22, 23, 3 साल के अंदर देखो कितना बड़ा प्रचारक बन गया है, कितना यूट्यूब पे क्लास देता है, कितना लोग सुनते हैं, कितने श्लोक याद हैं. He started giving class in temple also, Bhagavatam class, and me fellow, still struggling with ISOPANISHAD first verse. So, don't get into this fault finding, then it's to Vaishnava Aparadh. It is a very profound thing. If in case we have to live a peaceful life, and that only if our mind is at peace, then only we can really remember the Lord. It is only possible then we accept ourselves who we are. Acknowledge who am I, what belongs to me, and not to look at others and compare. We can have a healthy competition, seeing and knowing the fact that he is doing such a nice service. I should also increase my service. That is all good. But generally doesn't happen at a neophyte stage. At neophyte stage, we develop a troubled mindset. As soon as you see the devotee, how many of you agree? Your mind becomes upset. Ye phir aa gaya mere samne, we become like Daksha and Shiva, isn't it? We become like Daksha, there is a lot of battle of respect then arises. Why he or why she, why not me? Like that, unnecessarily disturb. So before we move forward in any discussion, to understand for oneself, whatever skill is there, okay, I'll quote you this. Mother Kamala, one of my role models, to say, she was Prabhupada disciple. She trained me in many aspects of bhakti back in America. She used to cook for community. Despite being the age of 60, 65, she'll come single-handedly would prepare a Sunday feast. Amazing, amazing. And she never gave a class. And often I would ask, Mother, why don't you speak? Why don't you speak? At least on Prabhupada Appearance Day, at least you speak. And only that's the time she would speak about Prabhupada. So one day we were talking and she would always talk about Prabhupada and his Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, like that, knowing the fact, I'm aspiring for Maharaj. So one day she said, Mayank, let me tell you, I'm so happy and so blissful in my situation. And I used to feel, you are the senior most member. You should sit. We should do the cooking. You should give class. We should hear from you. You're elderly by age. And she was the only Prabhupada disciple in the community. You're the Prabhupada disciple. And the young people are giving classes. You are cooking everything. What is this? So that's the point I would put forward. And then she said one day, she said, Mike, let me tell you one thing. I am so happy in my situation. I said, how, mother? Because I know that there is so much physical labor for you to cook. By the laws of nature, she had a little bulky body. And when you have a big bulky body, you really cannot stand for a long time. Cooking 4 hours together. Sunday feast means you're cooking for 4 to 5 hours. You cannot stand for long. So, poor lady, sometimes she'll have to sit on the stool. And when you have a big body, it becomes very difficult to really handle the big body. Your lower back begins to pain. There was a lot of discomfort. So she said, Mike, I'm so happy in the situation. I said, why? She said, Krishna ensured that I would never become proud. I said, huh? What do you never become proud? She said, see, I don't have the skill set, or I don't have that great memory that I can, first of all, speak eloquently, and not the great memory that I remember shlokas. So I always get to do background seva. Because I do background seva, there's no name, fame, recognition. Because there's no name, fame, recognition, I am so happy that I can peacefully sit and cook for Krishna and remember Krishna. There's no disturbance. But when you go into public life, there's so much disturbance. And one of the anathas, which by the practice of bhakti is created, is puja la pratishtha. Bhakti is all attractive. When you begin to practice bhakti, you will get puja, you will get lava, you will get pratishtha. And she said, I stay back behind. During the Sunday feast, you may say, okay, let's thank Mother Kamagiri for cooking Sunday feast. All right. The new people who come, they don't know who's Mother Kamagiri. She's inside the kitchen. They're going to take prasadam from those who are serving. So they never meet. So she was like, I'm so happy. So I would say this is one practical application. Person who lived through this principle of accept your quota. Content. Not comparing, not competing, not complaining. She had all that to do that. But she said, I'm so happy. So, the subject matter it involves a little bit purity of heart, freedom from envy, but that's where it begins with. So these are some of the thoughts with a practical example. Otherwise, in our Kanishta stage, we really compete, do many things, which becomes a little. Therefore, my humble suggestion in this regard is, every day we should study Prabhupada books. Only by studying Prabhupada books, we can protect ourselves from acting on the platform of lower propensities. All right, so we'll take and continue this discussion ahead. Tomorrow is Friday. So tomorrow we'll have Bhagavatam and we'll take this discussion. This was the main point about the quota. Now, rest of the purport talks about veg and non-veg. Please understand, this was largely written for public. Therefore, Prabhupada presented that idea of veg and non-veg. We should eat vegetarian, not non-vegetarian. Prabhupada puts that as the rest of the purport, like this. Maybe we can conclude this. So you can read it at yourself. Prabhupada is talking about veg and non-veg. I'll just make 1 or 2 points and conclude this verse actually. Human life alone then is a life of responsibility. If a man neglects the instruction of Vedic literature, his life is very risky. I'm reading some key points from here. The human beings therefore required to recognize the authority of the Supreme Lord. That's the third key point. And let's read the last paragraph. Mother Roshni, your hand is up. Hoping your sound will be working. Please read now the last paragraph. The root of sin.
Better now, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna.
Perfect.
Yeah. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. Disobeying the laws of nature or the order of lords brings ruin to a human being. Conversely, one who is sober, who knows the laws of nature, and who is not influenced by unnecessary attachment or aversion is sure to be recognized by the Lord, and thus become eligible to go back to Godhead, back to eternal home. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So once again, to conclude, Bhunjita is quota word, Sanskrit word is used, Bhunjita, which means what is my quota? It has to be ordained. It's ordained by Lord, but I don't recognize. Then it has to be ordained by Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. That's a whole subject matter. And for our devotees, we need to learn to be content with what I have. We need to embrace ourselves, whoever I am, with whatever faults, with whatever good things I have. Just calm down and relax. If you have faults, if you have problems, then pray to the Lordship to help you deal with it. Our mind is so much caught about thinking about others. How many agree with this? how much our mind is absorbed thinking about others only, not in often in the grateful and prayerful mood, thinking about others ki usne mere sang ye kara wo hua ityadi. Yes or no? We never reflect enough on about our own faults. So we all need to embrace our personality, who we are, and work on oneself. That's the only way we can be happy. And that's what. So quota means accept the quota of your own mistakes, faults, and also the quota of good things that you have. And work on the good and grow it. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments? We'll take second verse maybe on Saturday morning. All right. So thank you all for your kind attention. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.